Hi, I'm Shayla with Revolting Science Resources, a company designed to bring the principles of project management to academic scientists. And in today's video, I'm going to walk you through one of my favorite AI note takers, Fathom AI. So, what is Fathom AI? Fathom AI is an AI note taker that records, transcribes, highlights, and summarizes meetings so that you can focus on the content of the meeting. One of the really cool features of Fathom AI is that those recordings, summaries, and transcripts are generally available within 30 seconds of finishing your meeting. If you've ever recorded anything on Zoom, you know that's pretty fast. It also has the ability to connect to tools like Slack, which allows you to be able to share clips from different meetings really quickly with the rest of your lab. Fathom AI has both free and paid plans. And in the free plan, you actually get unlimited recordings and storage of those recordings forever. So I would highly recommend checking out Fathom AI specifically. And in this video, I'll actually walk you through setting up a Fathom AI account and what some of the summaries kind of look like after having a meeting. Before I actually walk through setting up a Fathom AI account, I thought I'd share a little about why I think it's really useful to use something like an AI note taker in academic science. I actually recently wrote a blog post where I shared why I think every academic meeting should be recorded. I won't walk through all the different reasons that I had here, but I'll link the blog post in the description box below. But one of the reasons that I shared was pretty much professionally, it's incredibly valuable to be able to go back to different meetings, review different notes, and know exactly what was said and what the expectations were that were set. In particular, I remember when I was in graduate school, I would be like furiously scribbling notes in my meetings, especially when we're talking about experiments or what the next steps are for some of those. And it was getting sometimes a little overwhelming. And I would go back to my notes and write something really quick, very sloppily, and be like, I'll know what that means. And I never knew. I never knew what it meant. So this is a really valuable way to be able to see the whole entire meeting if you want to, but even still have clear summaries or even action items pulled out from that meeting for you. So with that, I'll now show you how to set up your Fathom AI account. As a note, you'll find a link to Fathom AI included in the description box for this video. But when you click that link and it takes you to the homepage, you can actually just click this Get Started button right here and then sign in with either your Google or Microsoft account. You'll then just make sure Fathom AI has access to view events on your calendar. And then you'll get to this page where you'll start setting up your preferences. So my recommendation would be to actually not auto record all of the meetings in your calendar. So you could change that to don't automate. I recommend sharing recaps only with yourself and then allowing that to be reshared with attendees after the meeting. Then you can click continue, and then it asks for some information for personalizing your account. I would just say that you work in other as an individual contributor and you don't use a CRM, which is something that's generally used within businesses. And then you'll click continue. And then the next thing you'll have to do is install Fathom onto your computer so that you're able to use it for your meeting. So once you've installed that, this is what the home screen will look like. Then have the option to do a self-guided tutorial or even start a test call, but I would definitely highly recommend checking out the Fathom demo video that's included once you sign up for your account. You then click this edit settings button and then make sure that all the settings work for you and the work that you're trying to do. I would definitely recommend connecting Fathom to Zoom and Google Meet. That's actually the main way that it works. So you'll have to do some level of connecting. Fathom also has updated features that are available on their paid plan. So if that's something you want to check out, including things like, changing the bot's name or auto-generating action items, those are things that can be included in the paid version of Fathom AI. You do also have the option for setting the default meeting summary template. And again, that's a premium feature. But if you do end up wanting to purchase Fathom AI, that's a really great way to customize automatically what summaries it's generating for you. You then have the option to set some of the recording settings so you can auto record all of the scheduled meetings that you have in your calendar. I personally would recommend against this. So if you have any departmental meetings or other meetings that are Zoom meetings on your calendar, it will automatically record those as well. So obviously, recording every single meeting is not always ideal, but especially for things like one-on-one meetings or meetings with the team, those you likely would want to record. So I would just recommend just doing that manually, though, within those meetings. You then have the ability to set options related to attendee access. So for people who are attending a meeting, you can actually set it so that they automatically receive the recording and the summary, or just the summary, or access only by request. So my personal recommendation would again just be to set no access and then change that if necessary. But especially if this is an agreement that you're going into with your lab as a whole, Maybe, having the meeting recordings and summaries automatically sent to attendees just takes an extra step out of things. Also, when doing recordings, you do need consent most of the time to record a meeting. So a lot of the time Zoom gets that consent for you whenever multiple parties are joining. But my recommendation would be to just have Fathom actually do the auto request recording consent. So just toggling that button on. Fathom will also actually allow you to make highlights within your video. So if you think a particular part is really interesting or useful, you can highlight it. So if you ever want to change just like the names of the different highlighting options that are available during a meeting, you can do that here too. Just as a note, I'm actually not going to walk through what it looks like to have Fathom record during a meeting. I did take a couple screenshots though. So a couple things to note is that Fathom essentially will join your meeting almost like another participant. I would just recommend doing a quick test call with a friend or colleague or lab mate and seeing how it actually looks to set it up with your Zoom or Google Meet meeting. But in this video, I'm going to just actually show you what some of the summaries can kind of look like. So when you actually have the premium version or paid version of Fathom AI, you have access to some really cool features. So I'll show you what that looks like now. So in meetings where multiple people have joined a Google Meet or Zoom meeting, you'll actually be able to have a summary that looks something like this. You'll be getting kind of like the purpose of the meeting, key takeaways, some of the topics, and then also next steps. You can also have Fathom AI generate action items for you. So these are action items based off the conversation, and they were assigned by Fathom AI to specific people. But these can also always be edited. So even if something doesn't look exactly right, you can make a couple changes or tweaks if you need to. A couple other things to note. So another thing Fathom AI will do will actually list all the questions that are asked throughout the meeting, including your questions and the questions by the other meeting participant. And one of the really cool features about Fathom AI is that for any of the things that kind of have this ability to be clicked, you can actually click right to them and they take you to that specific spot in the meeting. So that's another really cool feature. So for example, if I wanted to see where this was discussed, that'll take me directly there. So that's kind of what the summary looks like, along with the action items and the questions. A couple things to note is that you can always copy this summary really easily. They actually have multiple different options for things like Google Docs, Gmail, Notion, and Word that can be easily kind of copied over to some other location for storage and record keeping. Another thing to note is that you do also have a full transcript of the entire conversation that, again, is clickable and will take you exactly to that spot. So if you, for example, see the summary and something looks a little off, you can always go look at the transcript next and then see what was actually said during the meeting. A couple other things to note, if you actually want to change what this looks like, you can do that as well here. So this is currently set at general, but you can also do it as chronological, which as a note is how it does appear in the free version. But we'll actually walk through a free version of this exact same conversation in a second. And then there's also the ability to do things like one-on-one. And so that gives you kind of more specifically what people were mentioning and the topics discussed and next steps as well. So just to note that in the premium version, you have the ability to jump between different types of summaries that are generated, but in the free version, you'll only be able to do the chronological summary. So this is what a meeting looks like when you have both meeting participants joining separately from different Zooms and different computers. But that obviously isn't always how meetings go, especially in academia when we might just be having some in-person meetings. So I've also done a recording where both me and the other person in this call were in the exact same meeting. So what you'll notice is a couple of things. It talks still about the meeting purpose. It still gives key takeaways and also summarizes different sections of the meeting. It also will give some next steps, but you'll notice that things are not specified by who was actually speaking within the meeting. So there's not multiple people essentially contributing to this conversation. It's almost as if you were just giving a monologue and it's giving a summary of that. It is still able to pull out some action items, but again, it kind of thinks that everything is related to just the one person who joined the Zoom call. So if you do want to use things like Fathom AI during in-person meetings, some of the specifics for things like the action items are not going to work as well. And you'll also note that it doesn't include any questions in that category either. So if you're using this in an in-person meeting, it still does do a really good job though, giving a summary of the conversation and just showing what was talked about and what was discussed as next steps. But there might need to be some level of editing just to make sure it actually makes sense for the work and the project that you're doing. You still have all the same options though, in terms of how the meeting notes are situated and how they look. But again, some of that just looks a little different or almost as if there's only one person doing everything. Same as well for the transcript. So everything exists on one side of the transcript. It does still have the ability to find specific spots in the conversation where specific topics were discussed by clicking and just kind of zooming you right to that part of the video. And then you again have the option to change what that looks like. So that's essentially what it would look like if you were recording a call and everybody was in the same room for an in-person meeting. And then actually now I'll show you what it looks like when you don't have the premium version. So in the premium version, you had many different options in terms of different ways you could actually look at the summary. But if I click another one, you'll see I'll actually have to upgrade to premium. So you only get this chronological view. One thing you'll note too is in the chronological view, it's not as detailed as the premium version of the chronological view. So that's another thing to keep in mind. But again, it does still have the ability to take you directly to different spots of the conversation. And it does still do a decent job of giving you a summary of this meeting. You also still have your full transcript. So you have the ability to see everything that was discussed and then also again jump to that through the transcript as well. If you do feel like copying the transcript, you can do that too. And then you could always just put this information into another software if you'd like to get some type of a summary. But obviously, there's a lot of convenience in having it all be in one spot. You can still copy the summary for different apps and formats. So that's always an option. And again, it's still shareable. One thing, again, you can't do though is extract action items. So you'll see when I click this, again, that's another premium feature. You do still have the ability, though, to see the different questions asked throughout the meeting. So that still is included with the free version as well. So that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed learning a little more about Fathom AI and how you can maybe use it in your professional meetings in academia. I think, again, it'd be a really great way to just be able to keep track of different experiments and also be able to make sure that you can really be present in a conversation and not have to worry about taking notes furiously. As a reminder, in the description box below, you'll see a link to Fathom AI. You'll also see a link to my blog post where I talk about why I believe every professional meeting in academia should be recorded. But I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comment section below. Let me know if you think that all professional meetings in academia should be recorded. But also let me know if you try out Fathom AI and you found it really useful for you and your academic research. But that's it for now. If you like this video, feel free to give it a thumbs up. Otherwise, I'll see you in the next one. Bye.